Damn, y'all. It's not looking too good for Buddy. This man can potentially cross over to the other side. The man Rampage Jackson's son put into the hospital.
I thought you was a motherfucker at a baby oil show, nigga. It's not all glistening and shit.
Rip the whole thing. But
Alright, long as you say.
tonight, you never know. Y'all keep playing with me and I'll go back to you.
Rampage Jackson has finally spoken out about his son Raja's violent wrestling incident, and his words stunned everyone. "I don't condone my son's actions at all," he wrote on X. But then he dropped a bombshell, revealing Raja had just suffered a concussion days earlier and had no business being anywhere near a wrestling ring. On Sunday morning, Rampage Jackson, former UFC light heavyweight champion and Pride superstar, took to X to address the viral incident that had already taken over wrestling and MMA circles. His opening line was strong and direct. "I don't condone my son's actions at all." That alone told fans he wasn't about to blindly defend Raja. But then Rampage shifted the spotlight. He revealed that Raja had suffered a concussion just days earlier during sparring, implying that his son wasn't thinking clearly, wasn't stable, and shouldn't have been in any physical altercation at all. Rampage claimed he was relieved that Syko Stu, the wrestler Raja brutally assaulted, was at least awake and stable, but his post raised even more questions than it answered. Because while Rampage condemned the violence, some fans immediately saw his statement as damage control. Was he genuinely worried about the victim, or was he trying to get ahead of the story before it destroyed his family name? But this wasn't the only twist. Rampage's excuse revealed something that would split the internet in half. Let's be clear, concussions can drastically alter someone's mood, decision-making, and even aggression levels. It's possible Raja wasn't himself. Rampage knows this better than anyone. He spent decades in combat sports where head trauma is a constant risk. But critics online didn't buy it. They argued that blaming a concussion sounded like a weak excuse for a calculated attack. After all, Raja wasn't some random guy at a bar. He's a trained fighter. He knows the difference between a wrestling show and a real fight. And yet, he treated a staged segment like an MMA cage match. So while Rampage may have been trying to give context, the internet read it as minimizing what everyone saw with their own eyes, a vicious beatdown that left a man unconscious. And that's where the bigger problem comes in, because Raja's actions didn't just hurt one man, they dragged his father's entire legacy into the fire.
And that's where things get complicated. Rampage Jackson isn't just any fighter, he's a legend. Pride Grand Prix champion, UFC light heavyweight champion, Hollywood actor, a man who built his reputation on brutal knockouts and larger-than-life personality. But now, instead of celebrating his career, people are asking, how did his son end up here? Was this bad parenting? Bad influence? Did Raja grow up under so much pressure to live up to his dad's name that he cracked? Rampage's statement tried to make it clear he didn't condone violence, but to many, it felt like he was protecting his son, and by extension, protecting himself. Because when your last name is Jackson, you don't just carry your own mistakes, you carry the family name. And Raja's actions may have done more damage to Rampage's legacy than any loss inside the octagon ever could. But to understand how this all spiraled so fast, you need to see exactly what went down that night.
Why did this even go down in the first place? The chaos began at a Knox Pro Wrestling event in Los Angeles, an indie promotion run by WWE Hall of Famer Rikishi. Raja wasn't on the card. He wasn't booked for the show. He was simply backstage, streaming on Kick, hanging out with his father. That's when Syko Stu, a passionate wrestler and Army veteran, decided to pull a classic wrestling stunt. Seeing cameras on Raja, he assumed the fighter was part of the act, so he smashed a prop beer can on Raja's head. For a trained pro wrestler, that's nothing but theatrics. For Raja, though, it was the spark that lit the fire. Instantly, his demeanor flipped. He wasn't laughing, he wasn't joking, he was furious. Wrestlers tried to calm him, explaining it was fake. Stu apologized over and over, thinking the handshake meant it was squashed. But the real show was yet to begin, and it wasn't scripted, because what happened when Raja stepped into the ring shocked the entire wrestling world. Later that night, Raja was brought into the ring. The plan was simple. Let him get revenge in front of the crowd, keep it safe, entertain the fans. But the second the bell rang, it became obvious that Raja wasn't in character. He shot in for a real single-leg takedown. He slammed Stu's head onto the mat with real force. And then, with Stu already limp, he unloaded strike after strike, 15, 20 punches, each one real, each one violent. Fans in the audience froze. Some thought it was the most realistic wrestling they'd ever seen. Others realized, horrified, that this wasn't a performance. Stu's body twitched on the canvas. He was out cold, vulnerable. And yet Raja kept throwing bombs until other wrestlers had to physically pull him away. And when that footage hit the internet, things exploded in a way nobody saw coming.
Within minutes, clips hit X, TikTok, and Reddit. The captions were brutal. Attempted murder, disgusting, career over. MMA fans said Raja embarrassed combat sports. Wrestling fans said he disrespected the art of the business. Kick, the streaming platform, banned him almost instantly. The Knox Pro promotion released a statement condemning the attack as selfish and irresponsible. And the wider wrestling community, from veterans to indie names, slammed Raja for crossing one of the most important lines, the unspoken agreement that wrestling is entertainment, not a shoot fight. But the fallout wasn't just online, because in the ring, the man Raja attacked was fighting for his health. The scariest part came when paramedics rushed into the ring. Stu was unconscious for a terrifying stretch. He was later hospitalized, suffering a severe concussion and multiple facial injuries. Thankfully, updates from his family confirmed he was awake and stable. But the damage was real. This wasn't a storyline. This wasn't good heat. This was a man's career, his health, and possibly his life hanging by a thread. And that's exactly why so many called Raja's actions criminal, not just reckless. Which leads to the biggest question of all. Will Raja Jackson actually face prison time? And now the LAPD is involved. An investigation is underway. No official arrest has been made yet, but experts say Raja could face charges ranging from assault to aggravated assault. Civil lawsuits are also on the table, against Raja and maybe even against the promotion for letting things escalate. Which brings us back to Rampage. His statement may have been honest, it may have been protective, but it may also come back to haunt him because it proves his son had a known medical condition and still ended up in the ring. That could become a major point in court. And that's why this story is far from finished.
Rampage said, "I don't condone my son's actions at all." But did his attempt to explain Raja's concussion help soften the blow, or did it make things worse? Should Raja face prison time for what happened, or is this the tragic case of an injured fighter making the worst decision of his life? Let me know what you think in the comments, and subscribe for the latest details, because this story isn't over. Court dates, medical updates, and more reactions are on the way, and trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next.